I visited Switzerland right after high school, and something deep in my bones felt at home. Maybe it was the punctual trains, maybe it was the food, maybe it was because the people there looked like me and I looked like them. Whatever it was, there was something in the rhythms of Swiss life and the layers of Swiss culture that harmonized deep within my soul. When I was growing up, I dreamed of moving away. I wanted to go anywhere else in the world just as long as it was not where I grew up. Now that life has taken me away from my ancestral home, my mind often wanders back to those tall fields of corn, those green valleys, and those lovely rolling hills. My European ancestors farmed grassy hills in Switzerland, and my Amish ancestors farmed grassy hills in Holmes County, Ohio. The truth is that no matter where I go, my heart will always yearn for green slopes. That is printed deep in my DNA. After living on the margins of society for hundreds of years, why was it that the Amish flourished in central Ohio? In this video, I will argue that the Ohio Amish community has prospered and grown in Holmes County for three reasons. First, the Congress of the Young United States of America created in Ohio a safe place for the Amish to own land. Second, the Amish historically were industrious, land-hungry farmers who flourished when able to farm rich soil in peace. And third, the Amish pioneer Jonas Stutzman chose excellent land in Ohio on which many generations of Amish could live well. Long before Ohio was settled by Europeans, the area was settled by Native Americans. The Native American ancestors of the misty past crossed from Asia to North America on a natural bridge over the Bering Strait thousands of years ago. Over many generations, these migrants spread across all of North, Central, and South America. Archaeologists have found evidence of natives living in the Ohio River Valley as early as 13,000 BC. About the time of King David in the Bible, the first major native group, the Adinas, settled in the Ohio region, building great burial mounds. They disappeared with no explanation around 200 BC. Over the next millennium, other native cultures came and went. The first European explorers in the area found a rich collection of Indian cultures in the Ohio region. Two French explorers named Louis Jollet and Jacques Marquette explored the Mississippi River in the 1670s. They claimed the Mississippi River and the area it drained as part of the French Empire. In the following years, other French explorers pushed further and deeper into the interior of North America. Eventually, France claimed all the territory between the Appalachian Mountains in the east and the Rocky Mountains in the west. The British founded their first successful colony at Jamestown, Virginia in 1607. Soon, other Europeans had also established colonies along the East Coast. By 1700, Britain had taken control of a long strip of land that stretched up and down the Atlantic seaboard of North America. The western boundaries for the British colonies remained vague because no one really knew what lay further out into the interior. However, one thing certainly lay out there, and that was the French claimed territory. The inevitable colonial war between the two superpowers for control of North America ended with victory for Great Britain. In the ensuing Treaty of Paris of 1763, France gave up virtually all its claims in North America. The area between the Appalachians in the east and the Mississippi River in the west went to Great Britain. By 1775, Great Britain once again found itself fighting for control of North America. However, this time the empire was fighting itself. The American colonists, dissatisfied with London's tax policies, violently revolted against King George III and his parliament. After a tedious war of attrition, the Americans triumphed over the British and set up a republican form of government. Along with the seaboard colonies, the young United States of America also received the large tract of land the French had handed to Britain in 1763. One of the big questions facing the new United States government was what to do with all the new land in the West. Congress turned its attention first to a region they called the Northwest Territory, defined as the area bounded on the east by Pennsylvania, on the south by the Ohio River, on the west by the Mississippi, and on the north by Canada. The Northwest Ordinances established an organized, systematic way for settlers to claim, own, and develop land in the Northwest Territory. Thomas Jefferson helped to organize a symmetrical surveying method that made it easy for settlers to identify and purchase individual plots. This system created a stable environment in which American frontier families could own and develop land in the territory. Pioneers no longer needed to fight with other settlers for control of land since the deeds were tightly controlled by government land offices. The Battle of Fallen Timbers in 1794 ended the American war with the natives in the Northwest Territory. The successful Americans brought peace to the region. The ease of claiming land and the removal of the native threat in the region opened the door for thousands of settlers to stream across the Appalachian Mountains into the Northwest Territory. By 1803, the Ohio portion of the territory had met all the requirements for statehood, and Ohio was accepted as the 17th state of the Union. Joining the thousands of settlers streaming to Ohio was a group called the Amish. Who were these people? The Amish were a religious group from Switzerland. Their roots lay in the Radical Reformation, in which Anabaptists stretched Protestant ideas to greater lengths. The core Anabaptist argument was that people should only be baptized and join the church if they were sincere and understood what they were doing. This idea, of course, countered the Catholic and Protestant practice of baptizing babies. Today, this tension of ideas does not sound overly exciting, but in the 15 and 1600s, this idea was revolutionary. The Anabaptists faced severe persecution for their beliefs. Imprisonment, torture, burning at the stake, beheading. These were all part of the grim Anabaptist reality during the Reformation. The persecuting churches and governments pushed Anabaptists to more lenient parts of Europe. Depending on where they settled, these various Anabaptist groups faced very different realities and futures. The Amish found themselves pushed to the margins of Swiss society, where they were denied land ownership rights. When William Penn's new Pennsylvania colony offered a chance for a new life, the Amish answered the call. In 1737, the first Amish immigrant group sailed on a ship called the Charming Nancy from Rotterdam to Philadelphia. After a difficult sea voyage, they settled in Berks County, roughly 50 miles northwest of Philadelphia. Here, they set up a new community, but soon found themselves in the heart of the American Revolution. The Amish in Pennsylvania faced great pressure to join the revolution, but their religious convictions did not allow them to use violence or to revolt against their political authority. One of the greatest Amish desires is to live in peace, so to escape the conflict, some Amish moved further west to Somerset County, Pennsylvania. Here the Amish found peace, but they did not find adequate land. Another of the great desires of the Amish, who were industrious and capable farmers, was to own and till rich land. In Somerset County, Pennsylvania, the Amish were required to cobble together oddly shaped farms on less than perfect land. The itch to move on soon struck. Next up was the Ohio frontier. The great desires of the Amish for land and peace were met perfectly in Ohio. First, because of the organized surveying system, the Amish could hold clear ownership of land. Second, because Ohio remained largely unsettled, the Amish could finally choose from the best land available. And third, because the U.S. government had fought and won the Northwest Indian War, the pacifist Amish could live peacefully in Ohio. The Berks County Amish first sent a small scouting party to Ohio in 1807. This scouting party traveled to New Philadelphia, Ohio, a small town on the banks of the Tuscarawas River. There, they crossed the river and explored the valleys in the area that lay further west along two creeks, the Sugar and the Walnut. The men returned to New Philadelphia to stake their claims, then returned home to their homes in Berks County, Pennsylvania. In the fall of 1808, an Amish man named Jacob Miller, one of the scouts from the previous year, returned to Ohio with two of his sons to prepare for their families to make the move to Ohio. After building a cabin and making adequate preparations, Jacob and one of his sons returned home for the winter to wait for spring. The other son remained in the cabin they had built to keep watch over the winter. In the spring of 1809, the extended Jacob Miller family made the long plod across the Appalachians to their new home in Ohio. Traveling with this group was a dynamic, young, unmarried man named Jonas Stutzman. In time, Jonas proved to be the key to making the Amish settlement in Ohio a success. Why was this true? First, Jonas spent the first few months in Ohio exploring land further west from the first Amish group in search of a perfect plot of land for himself and his extended family. He was looking for 5 characteristics in the land. 1, he wanted a natural meadow that could be easily tilled without needing to remove trees. 2, he looked for walnut trees because Amish farmers liked the soil that grew these trees. 3, he searched for land along a river or creek that flooded in the springtime. The flooding kept down large vegetation in the bottomland. 4, he wanted a hill close to the meadow where he could build a house high enough to stay out of the spring floods. And 5, he searched for a spring water source that emerged from the hill close to where he could build his house. In his search for land, Jonas found the perfect plot of land along the Walnut Creek for himself and for his extended family. The second reason Jonas Stutzman was the key to the success of the Amish community was that the land that surrounded his plot for miles in either direction also contained the 5 characteristics he found on his own plot. As more Amish moved to Ohio, more families chose to settle in and around the Stutzman family because of the choice land. The third reason Jonas influenced the success of the Amish community in Ohio was that his exploration work allowed him to help other settlers to select good land plots all around the Holmes County area. Now, over 200 years after the first Amish moved to Ohio, Holmes County and the areas around it hold the largest Amish community in the United States. The Amish living in the county today are still industrious. Most lead thriving and prosperous lives as farmers, business owners, and hired laborers. Most religious and ethnic groups that have emigrated to America have experienced a gradual assimilation into the greater American culture until they are nearly indistinguishable from the average person. The Amish, on the other hand, have maintained a lifestyle very similar to that of their ancestors in 17th and 18th century Switzerland. How have they managed to do this? Well, that's a complex question that needs to be answered from many different angles. Part of the answer, however, is the rich farmland in Holmes County, Ohio, where the Amish have prospered for 3 reasons. First, the American government's work as organizer and protector of the Ohio Territory created a safe and stable place for the peaceful Amish to flourish. Second, the industrious Amish, searching for the perfect plot of land where they could live in peace, kept moving west until they found their ideal home in Holmes County. And third, the pioneering work of Jonas Stutzman provided ample room for the Amish to live and prosper. In their stable, welcoming home in Holmes County, the Amish have been able to band together to maintain their way of life. Although I'm not Amish myself, I feel a great connection to the Amish and to Holmes County, Ohio. And so I should. Jonas Stutzman was my great, 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 great grandfather.